guys.
Hi,
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
We're trying really hard not to answer you in unison.
Oh, I mean, there's some magic in that.
Gets a little creepy after a while, though.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess you're right. Well, I'm really excited because one, I just have to say, Michael, that Ervin Smith was my first favorite anime character. Um,
Oh.
so you were like my gateway drug. So I
That
love
it
that we get
happens to be played by Daisuke Ono in the Japanese, who also plays Sebastian. So that's his.
Oh, I didn't
wow.
know that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
that's kismet.
Small world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
literally though. Um, so we're talking about Black Butler. I just started watching this earlier this spring when this arc was announced. And I caught up and it's been 10 years since you guys have done this, right? Since
Well, I
Yeah.
think
Good. Good.
since Book of Circus, but then we did
yeah,
Book of the
Yeah.
Atlantic,
Book of
and I
Atlantic.
believe that
Yeah.
was 7
So
years ago.
7. Okay.
Mhm.
That was my
it's
favorite.
yeah.
Was
When you're my age, you round up. So it's 10 years. Why
Yeah,
not?
it's basically 10 years. Yeah.
It's a better part of a
um
decade.
Yeah.
after you guys did Book of Atlantic and this whole huge span of time passes, did you ever think like, all right, my time as this character is done and it was a great run, but we're done?
I was always hopeful that it
Yeah.
would come back. I was always because I now have read some of the manga. I read the public school arc of the in the manga. But I hadn't read any before that. But I had a lot of fans that would I would ask for spoilers and be like, what? So what actually happens? And just knowing all of the cool stuff that happened after we had left off, I'm like, oh God, I really want to record that. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
I had a feeling we weren't done. I rarely do. I always assume when we're done working on something, it's the last I'll ever, see of it. But I just had a feeling. There's something about Black Butler that I'm like, they're not done. We'll come back to this at some point. Who knows? Or it will come back, whether or not we're able to. And so yeah, but I'd forgotten that I felt that way until and when the announcement happened, I was like, no, is is that is it real? And Brina and I were furiously texting each other back and
Yeah.
forth because we weren't sure if they would ask us to reprise our role. It's been such a long
Right.
time. Who knows?
Yeah, you never
Things
know.
change. It happens all the time. So we were like kind of in that limbo period where we're just kind of like, is it gonna happen? We're gonna do this? What's gonna happen? Whatever. So but it was
Yeah.
super cool. I did not believe it at first, and then as it sunk in, I was like, oh yeah, no, that's happening, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
let's
doing this.
go.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you came back after so much time away, did it feel like putting on a comfy pair of old shoes or did it need some breaking in?
I definitely required some just studiousness. I had to practice the English accent working up to it again. Because unlike Michael, I don't just live in a British accent.
It's true. I
Yeah.
always sound like I'm an American, like, or I'm like someone who's like trying to fake that he doesn't have a British accent.
Yeah. Honestly, like
So
if you truly, I think Henry Cavill, whenever he uses his American accent, you sounds exactly like Michael. Like exactly like Michael. It's crazy.
I mean, I'll take it.
That's I was gonna
Uh,
say that's an
Yeah.
honor.
I'll I'll take it. Um, yeah, no, for me, Sebastian's always like a comfortable pair of shoes I can slip back in, and like just the perfect kind of like the insulated house shoes. I'm like, oh, this is really nice. The kind of shoes you wear while you like read or drink a cup of
Right.
tea or something in front of the fire. Um, yeah, that's pretty much not a challenging voice for me to do because he just kind of lives very close to me anyway. And I stay in practice with that voice because I use it all the time in my just everyday life when I'm being cheeky. I've ordered many meals in that voice, many drinks in that voice. It just happens, and Lord knows at conventions I'm asked to do it all the time. So the fans have kept
Okay.
me in practice with that voice too. So when it was time, I'm like, my body is ready. I never really stopped.
Season 4 was helmed by a new animation studio.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
What did you think about the new visuals? Because I think they're stunning.
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
Particularly any scene involving tea is just like a dream. I'm just like,
Oh,
oh, I want tea right now. Yes, this is
right.
beautiful.
It does. It's just makes you want to collect all the teapots and to have all the like the tiered trays. Yeah, I
Gorgeous.
think the animation is gorgeous, and I think it's such a love letter to the tone of the original that I feel it just has to be made by animators who grew up watching the original and are now in the industry and getting to you know because it just the animation is so lovingly crafted and so enthusiastic. I love it, and I'm obsessed with Sebastian's eyelashes. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 more. He has the prettiest lashes I've ever seen, and I would sell my soul for those lashes.
I'm not going to disagree. I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm not going to disagree.
It's never a mistake to mention Sebastian's eyelashes.
It's
I mean,
true.
he's got a haircut. He's got extra. He's got a lash
Everything
lift.
is just
Like,
A
but
lash
those
lift.
but it's just I mean the time he must spend every morning in the mirror just getting that perfect
Just
angle. I mean,
perfecting the
it's enviable. It really is. I wish I had that kind of time and skill.
I mean, he doesn't sleep, right? So, like, while Ciel's asleep, he's just in the bathroom primping and
He certainly looks it.
it
and
shows. It
He
shows.
is a
we
well put together
appreciate
creature.
it.
Mhm.
All right. In voiceover, and obviously in a lot of different animes, voice actors are taking on roles of characters in a much wider range of ages, whether it's younger or older than like a live action person would. And I think that that's such a cool and amazing talent that you guys specifically have. Um,
Mm.
so, how do you kind of prepare to portray a character that's at such a drastically different stage of their life? I guess this is mostly
Hmm.
for Brina.
Yeah.
Sebastian's thousands of years old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also that's also a very different place than I am in my life, just to be clear.
Yeah, so yeah, honestly, it's I think at the time that I started CL, I was, much younger. I was in my early 20s, and I felt very connected to him. It didn't really feel that difficult. The only technical difficulties that I've ever had has just been trying to master the dialect and make sure and do it justice. Um, and now that I'm much older and I have a son, I do see him a little bit differently now and sort of relate to him differently now. Um, I feel sorry for him a lot more now than I did in the past, especially since I've gone to therapy. I feel like all of that anger that I felt with Ciel, that I was just like, yeah, I get you. Your anger is what makes you who you are. All this drama, I'm going to hold on to it forever because it's who I am. I don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
So, because I have grown as an adult, but I still have so many visceral memories of that time of my life and of my own childhood. Like it doesn't feel that far removed from me. And especially since having a kid, I think anybody who has a child can tell you, like, it brings up all of these past memories and like experiences from your own childhood that you had completely forgotten about.
Oh yeah.
So it's just, yeah, I think I'm just very lucky to have had that, honestly.
It's funny. I have kind of the opposite problem because I'm playing a creature that's not human and is
Mhm.
effectively immortal, but who's really good at playing the part of a human. And
Mhm.
uh, so for me, I try to focus on he must have a very different relationship to the concept of time. Like everything that happens
Right.
must happen so quickly that I think it kind of feeds his remove from things because he's like, this is just a drop in the bucket. It strengthens the relationship he has with CL because clearly he takes an interest, and for something so fast, so quick, in his perception to grab his interest, it must be something special. And I think he sees perhaps a little bit of himself in CL insofar as a demon is capable of seeing themselves in a human. Um, But so I have to play that of like, well, okay, how he's so removed from anything that I have experience with, um, that I have to kind of remind myself to like, oh no, he wouldn't feel that way because that's a human emotion, and he only pretends to have those because that's part of his function. But that's kind of the challenge, and so I have to. It's not that he's cold; it's just he's coming from a very different emotional vernacular that we can't really comprehend because we're not immortals, and so I try to keep that in mind and not to be too abstract about it, but just to remind myself, like, oh no, that's a reaction that he wouldn't have,
Mm-hmm.
genuinely, because that's just not his. That's too his relationship to time is too different for that to hit that way for him. And so I have to be vigilant against that and not make him too human in his sarcasm or too
Mm-hmm.
human in his little moments of, you know, confusion or whenever those few moments where he seems Sebastian is vulnerable. That vulnerability has to come from a very different place than it would if I were playing, a mortal, because the stakes are different for him completely in a way that it's difficult to even get your head around, I suppose. But it makes it a really fun challenge.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, he's amazing. You both are. We're almost out of time, so
Thank
we'll
you.
do a quick one. We have the addition of the 4 prefix
Hmm.
in this one. Do you guys have a favorite of the 4?
Violet. I love Violet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Bluer because he's played by my husband, Brandon McKinnis. So
Predictable.
And you know what?
yeah.
I staged that question just for that.
So nice. It's funny, true story. Brandon played all the cats in Book of Murder or Book of Circus.
He
Yeah, it was
did.
his first one of his first gig as a voice actor was coming in and playing all the cats in
Oh
Book
my
of
god. Well, I know what
Circus.
I'm getting. I know what I'm getting signed when I see you guys at a convention.
A bunch of cats?
Yes.
Please, if
Sure.
anyone wants to make me see me turn into just the happiest human on earth, just bring a box of kittens to the like, I might cry. I
Yeah,
would
I might
just lose
cry.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon would cry too, but that's only because he's allergic.
Oh.
But he also loves animals. But he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this catty," and I'm like, "Are you crying?" Like, "No, I'm just sneezing."
Well, thank you guys so much
Our
for your
pleasure.
time. You guys
Thank
are
you.
amazing. And yeah, I love this new season, and you guys are killing it.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you very much.